The search to replace Ryan Grubb continues. Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you as we have some updates to get to on the offensive coordinator search tracker. We'll tell you everything you need to know about the candidates that have interviewed so far and who's up next in just a bit. Before we get to that, though, folks, if you want Seattle to make the right OC hire, like today's video. I've been told by some very good sources, don't question me on this, all right? If we get 500 likes on today's video, that guarantees Seattle will hire the right offensive coordinator. So why even jinx it? Why even bother? Just go ahead and hit that like button. We'll get started with today's show. So let's break down the latest from Seattle's OC search, as we've had two candidates that have interviewed so far, and another name has been added to the list that will also get an interview. Let's tell you who those individuals are, starting with this report from Ian Rapoport of the NFL Network. Along with his interview today with the Browns for their OC job, Saints offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak will interview with the Seahawks for their vacant OC tomorrow. Source said a coveted candidate. And what's interesting with Kubiak, the Saints, the rumor is that they ideally, with their new head coach, would like to keep Klint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, potentially speaking. But ultimately, that's going to come down to who the next head coach is and all that, and whether they want to keep Klint Kubiak or not. But at the very least, within the organization, he's well liked there. But with that said, the Saints, because there's not a guarantee that he's going to be back as the offensive coordinator for New Orleans next season, they are not preventing him from taking interviews with other teams. So he very well could be on the table potentially to leave New Orleans for Seattle, because it's not a given that he would necessarily have a job back in New Orleans under that new coaching staff that's coming in as far as that goes. So Kubiak's on the list. You also have Hank Fraley, the Detroit Lions offensive line coach, who interviewed over the weekend. And then Thomas Brown also interviewed over the weekend as well. He was the interim head coach for the Chicago Bears this past season. They are taking reins over after Matt Eberflus was fired as their head coach and finished the year there with Chicago. Let's tell you more about Klint Kubiak. This season was his first as the New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator. He spent one season as the Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator, and prior to that was the passing game coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, and did a pretty good job there. More on that in just a bit. Also, a lot of experience as a passing game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers right here in the division in 2023, and that Niners team had a very good offense. The development of Brock Purdy was largely involved with what Kubiak was able to do, and was also the passing game coordinator for the Denver Broncos in 2022 as well. And look, let's be honest here. The New Orleans Saints, this was not a good year for the New Orleans Saints, if we're going to be frank. Really, in just everything you look at. Offense, defense, special teams, they had a ton of injuries that went on. I don't count that against Klint Kubiak of what happened this year in New Orleans, because there was so many other factors that were out of his control. What I can point to, though, is what he did in his one season as the Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator. And that year, the Vikings, although they went 8-9, I believe, the reason why Mike Zimmer and that staff got fired was not anything to do with the offense. The defense was terrible. The offense under Klint Kubiak did its part. They had a very balanced attack that year with Cousins and Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. Dan Vines brought up this point on X, and I want to read this to you, what he had to say earlier just a couple days ago. With Klint Kubiak calling plays under head coach Mike Zimmer in 2021, the Vikings offense was 12th in the league in yards per game, 362.8. They're also 11th in points in yards per game combined, or passing yards per game, sorry. 17th in rushing yards per game and 14th in points per game, and they were ranked 18th in pass rate at 58.5% compared to Seattle this year. That was ranked fifth in pass rate at 62.8%. So they ran the ball a lot more there his season in Minnesota, comparatively speaking, to this Seahawks team right now. More from Dan saying the following. Kirk Cousins threw for 4,221 yards with a 33-7 touchdown to interception ratio. Dalvin Cook rushed for 1,159 yards with 6 touchdowns. Also caught 34 passes for 244 yards. Oh, yeah, and then that guy, Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in football. Yeah, he had 108 catches for 1,616 yards and 10 touchdowns. So that offense was pretty dang good with Klint Kubiak calling the shots there in Minnesota just a couple years ago. So what do you think about Klint Kubiak? Should he be Seattle's next offensive coordinator? Weigh in, let us know. Type Y for yes, in for no. Get in that comment section. Let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time's got you covered. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's a deal you don't want to pass up on. They also have the customize your spot feature, and they have their seat views, so you can get the 3D visual, see what that seat is like. Here's how it works. Let's say you want to go to a Kraken game. Maybe you want to go to another event in Seattle. You choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You choose your seat, and just like that, you're checking out on Game Time with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. I've saved a lot of money on Game Time, and for me, it's been great for last-minute tickets because the prices go down the closer it gets to when the event actually starts. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. So far, of the 3 names that we know of that are on Seattle's radar at this point in time, I don't think there's necessarily a bad candidate on this list. Now, there are some that may be better than others, but I think the talent pool so far is not bad of what Mike Macdonald and company has come up with of potential options to be the next play caller. Let's start with Thomas Brown with the Chicago Bears. And we saw this Chicago offense look a lot better with Thomas Brown calling the shots there in the second half of the season after they moved on from Matt Eberflus. And the thing I'll say about Thomas Brown as well, he was very limited when you think about that he still had to run Shane Waldron's offense, the system that was in place. So he was handicapped by that and couldn't do his own scheme because it was already too late in the season to make those adjustments to throw out the entire offense at that point in time. And we saw Caleb Williams play a lot better. I know they only scored 3 points against Seattle. Everybody's going to point to that and everything. But he's got a good track record as a running backs coach prior to being an offensive coordinator. Won a Super Bowl with the LA Rams on that front. And we know Seattle wants to work on this running game. Thomas Brown could be a good fit there. Meanwhile, Hank Fraley, total football guy. You can just see it in his face and the goatee and everything there. And he is just well respected across the National Football League. No play calling experience, but you can say that pretty much with everybody at some point before that day comes. You have to have that first year at some point in time. Maybe this is the opportunity he was looking for. 10 years as an NFL assistant, 10 years playing in the league as an NFL offensive lineman there. And the Lions' offensive line has been very good the last couple of seasons with Hank Fraley leading the way there. And with Seattle wanting to make those improvements on the offensive line, this could be just the guy you're looking for as far as that goes. Now, we will share some final thoughts here in just a moment, but before we do, I want to make sure you guys subscribe to Seattle Seahawks Today. We are bringing you the latest happenings on your favorite team all year long throughout the entire offseason. We are your offseason headquarters as we bring you our daily news and rumors, live shows twice a week, every Monday and Wednesday. In addition, folks, to our breaking news, our Q&A mailbags. If you love the Hawks, this is the channel for you. This is one of the most important off seasons that the Hawks have had in a very long time. We are going to be all over it right here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe now. Tell all your friends. Make sure they subscribe as well. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. You'll be glad you did. All right, so kind of wrapping up on this, I'll say this. What we know based on these three candidates so far is that these three individuals are much different than Ryan Grubb. And I think with all three, we know that Seattle, what Mike Macdonald is looking for, is for somebody that will put an emphasis on being physical and being explosive. Those two key areas. And all three of these individuals fit that mold of what Seattle's looking for in that sense of how they want to change up this offense compared to what it was under Ryan Grubb. Here's what the next offensive coordinator is walking into. Seattle was 18th in the league in points per game. They were 14th in yards per game this past season, 8th in passing yards per game, 28th in rushing yards per game. That obviously needs to come up. Third down conversion percentage, just 37.62%, 21st in the league. I think you look at those numbers, and I know it's pretty glaring seeing that, but I think there's certainly room for improvement, and the talent is there for this group to take a significant step forward with a new OC there. The assignment for this next OC, I hope that they understand this assignment because it's pretty obvious for anyone that's paying attention. There's two goals that Mike Macdonald is looking for in this next OC. Number one is to fix the offensive line. Of course. We all know that's the biggest issue holding this Seattle team back on all fronts, on all three phases, is the offensive line. That's object number one. But then number two is to fix the run game, and that goes along with that, with the offensive line there. So if I'm Mike Macdonald, if I'm John Schneider, in these interviews, what I'm saying is, what are you going to do about our offensive line? What are you going to do about our run game here? Why do you deserve this job? What are you going to do in those two areas? That would be the questions that I would want to know if I was doing the interview process. Who should be the Hawks' next offensive coordinator? Should it be one of these three individuals, or should it be somebody we're not talking about? Get in the comment section and let us know. If you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.